The iPhone 8 Plus is Apple's pragmatic iPhone. The design has aged and it doesn't have the same glitz and glam of iPhone X, but the iPhone 8 Plus has almost everything you could want from a phone in 2017. If the iPhone X is the shape of things to come, the iPhone 8 Plus is a culmination of the first 10 years of iPhone. It's everything you've come to love about the iPhone with enough refinements to give it that new phone feeling. The biggest physical change is the move to a glass back, and a very pretty one at that. While glass looks nice and enables wireless charging, the join between the aluminum frame and the glass panel is quite noticeable. It's not uncomfortable and it doesn't get in the way of using the phone, but it doesn't have the same seamless feel as the aluminum iPhone 7 Plus. Notably, the iPhone 8 Plus glass back isn't as prone to fingerprints as phones like the Moto X4 or HTC U11. You'll notice fingerprints if you go looking for them, but the iPhone 8 Plus doesn't look filthy after day-to-day usage. While the iPhone 8 Plus isn't too different compared to the last few models, there's plenty of meaningful changes under the hood. The display touts the iPad's True Tone technology, the camera is much better in challenging situations and has a couple of cool new tricks. There's wireless charging, and the processor offers as much as a 70% performance increase over last year's model. The iPhone 8 Plus isn't an overhaul, but a solid new iteration. What's good about the iPhone 8 Plus? The iPhone 8 Plus primary camera feels like the device's newest feature. We were actually a little surprised to find how much of an improvement it offers over last year's model. The iPhone 8 Plus takes better photos across the board thanks to richer colors and increased sharpness, but these improvements are most noticeable when it comes to adverse lighting situations. Low-light photography is the biggest winner, with the iPhone 8 Plus capturing significantly brighter photos. This hasn't come at the expense of clarity or sharpness. Brighter low-light photography is often the result of a slower shutter speed, which means a photo takes longer to take, which in turn increases the chance of motion blur. Low-light photos are sharper, more detailed, and exhibit less camera noise and artifacts. During the day, the iPhone 8 Plus is far better at handling harsh or direct sunlight. Photos are far less prone to blowout, and capture better contrast. For example, if you're shooting towards the sun, you'll get a rich blue sky rather than a washed-out bluish-white. In short, the iPhone 8 Plus is far more likely to get you a good photo, regardless of lighting conditions. It's easily one of the best smartphone cameras around right now, alongside HTC's U11. Of course, iPhone 8 Plus primary camera is only half of an equation. The iPhone 7 Plus zoom lens makes a very welcome return this year. While the primary camera is the same as what you'll find in the iPhone 8, the equivalent of a 28mm lens, the second is comparable to a 56mm. By swapping between the two, you're effectively able to zoom in without losing image quality in the same way you would with digital software zoom. That being said, quality between the iPhone 8 Plus two rear-facing cameras isn't identical. There's a noticeable difference in low-light performance on the secondary lens thanks to a lower aperture and the lack of optical image stabilization. While the iPhone 8 Plus primary lens might be the winner in terms of quality, the zoom lens is incredible for those times you can't actually get close to your subject. Sneaky doggo snaps, mosh pit pics, or showy street shots. It's not essential, but it sure is great to have. Zoom is neat, but the iPhone 8 Plus dual camera configuration can also be used for a couple of cool tricks. Apple's souped-up portrait mode, a camera option that simulates DSLR-like bokeh, with a feature called portrait lighting. On top of blurring the background behind your subject, you're able to rework the lighting in the shot. Essentially, image fakery that allows you to recreate shadows and highlights you typically achieve with dedicated lights. If you're shooting in reasonably well-lit environments, and as the name suggests, a portrait, you can get stunning results. The studio lighting preset that strips out the background behind your subject is kind of crazy. The effects, especially studio lighting, can be inconsistent however. Dimmer environments, wild hair, and complicated backgrounds can all adversely affect the final image. Portrait lighting is still in beta, so hopefully Apple is able to address some of these challenges in the future. Either way, it's a fun feature. Other than a zoom lens, The main benefit of a bigger iPhone is better battery life. The iPhone 8 Plus should easily get you somewhere between a day and a half to 2 full days on a single charge. I typically found myself down to somewhere between 40% and 50% at the end of a day, which is a very comfortable buffer. Unlike the smaller iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus isn't a phone that's demanded a quick just-in-case top-up throughout the day. As you'd expect from a $1,200 phone, the iPhone 8 Plus has a lovely display. It's vibrant, works well in direct sunlight and has wide viewing angles. While many phones the same size are now shipping with Quad HD displays, the iPhone 8 Plus is still using a 1080p panel. We didn't find this to impact sharpness or clarity in any meaningful way, however. True Tone technology, first introduced with the iPad Pro, is the best thing about the iPhone 8 Plus screen. The feature automatically adjusts the color temperature of the iPhone's display to match the ambient lighting of your environment. This makes colors appear natural, and can make the screen easier on your eyes. Day-to-day performance gains over last year's model are marginal at best. You'll save a second or two here and there, but these become far more impressive when it comes to more intensive applications. Even games like Hearthstone load and run noticeably faster, and there's almost certainly plenty of headroom for demanding tasks like the augmented reality applications enabled by iOS 11. One of the iPhone's main drawcards is a tight relationship between hardware and software. Since Apple makes both the iPhone and its operating system, you get a more holistic experience than you do on most Android devices, with Google's Pixel family being one key exception. The most practical benefit of this relationship is guaranteed software and security updates. Historically speaking, an iPhone model continues to get software updates for 4 or 5 years after it first goes on sale. Not only does this mean you're constantly getting Apple's latest software, it seems to positively affect iPhone resale value. The iPhone 8 Plus touts the same water resistance rating as the iPhone 7 Plus, IP67. This means it can safely be submerged as deep as 1 meter for up to half an hour. It's not quite as water-resistant as Samsung's 2017 flagship devices, which are all rated IP68 for an extra half meter, but still water-resistant enough to survive a tumble into the toilet or the shallow end of a pool. The feature is however more about peace of mind, rather than an invitation to use the phone underwater. While the iPhone 8 Plus might be an ideal companion for streaming stand in the tub, make sure your water isn't too sudsy. IP ratings technically only apply to fresh water. The iPhone 8 Plus should still survive encounters with salt water, chlorinated water, or even devil water. You'll just need to rinse it off with fresh water as soon as possible. It's worth noting that Apple does not cover water damage under the iPhone 8 Plus warranty. You also shouldn't charge the device when it's wet. Make sure you give it a couple of hours to dry out entirely following any underwater adventures. Lastly, the iPhone 8 Plus now starts with 64 GB of storage, rather than 32 GB, which is a welcome change that puts Apple in sync with other high-end phones. I've found 64 GB tends to be the sweet spot where I don't have to worry about running out of space on a phone, but you're able to opt for a 256 GB model instead if it seems too tight. Apple's 2017 iPhones don't come in 128 GB configurations.